Every time she pulls away, it feels like you're stuck in this endless loop, wondering what you did wrong. But what if I told you that the problem isn't what you're doing? It's how you're showing up. Stay with me, because once you understand this one shift, she'll never ignore you again. Let's start by breaking down the real reason she's ignoring you. It's not the text you didn't send or the one you overanalyzed for an hour before hitting send. It's not even the fight you had last week or the space she said she needed. The truth is, when a woman starts to distance herself, it's usually because she feels like something is missing. And no, it's not the grand gestures, constant attention, or endless compliments you think will win her back. What she's looking for is something deeper, emotional attraction. Here's the hard truth. Emotional attraction isn't built through desperation or trying to prove your worth to her. It's built when she starts seeing you as someone she can't afford to lose. Right now, if she's ignoring you, it's likely because you're chasing her approval instead of focusing on yourself. You've unknowingly slipped into a dynamic where her attention feels like a prize you're trying to win, and she can feel it. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to sensing neediness, even if you're trying to hide it. Now, let's flip the script. To make her notice you again, and I mean truly notice you, you need to pull back your energy and redirect it inward. This doesn't mean ignoring her or playing games. It means stopping the cycle of overthinking every interaction and reclaiming control of your own narrative. Think of it like this. When you stop chasing her, you give her the space to notice your absence. And believe me, that absence can be far louder than any text or call you could send. But it's not just about pulling back. It's about transforming yourself into someone who exudes confidence and independence. Picture this. Instead of waiting for her to respond, you're out living your best life, growing and improving in ways that make her stop and wonder, what's changed about him? That's the energy shift we're going to create here. The first step to making this shift is understanding what makes someone irresistible. It's not about how much you give to someone else. It's about how much value you create within yourself. Think about the people you're drawn to. They're the ones who seem completely comfortable in their own skin, who don't seek validation from others, and who live life on their own terms. That's what makes them magnetic. Now let's apply that to you. If she's ignoring you, the worst thing you can do is keep feeding into the dynamic of trying to win her back. Instead, ask yourself this. What kind of man do I want to be, with or without her in my life? This question shifts your focus from her to something far more important, your own growth and identity. Because here's the thing. When you elevate yourself, people naturally take notice. Start by prioritizing areas of your life that might have taken a back seat. Maybe you've been neglecting your passions, your fitness, or your social life because you've been so caught up in what she's thinking or feeling. This is the time to flip that. Hit the gym, pick up that hobby you've been putting off, reconnect with friends, or even take on a new challenge that excites you. These aren't distractions, they're investments in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, you radiate a confidence that's impossible to ignore. Another key element is maintaining boundaries. Think about this. If she reached out to you tomorrow, would you immediately drop everything to respond? If the answer is yes, that's a sign you're giving her too much power in your life. Boundaries aren't about being cold or distant. They're about respecting yourself enough to not let anyone disrupt your peace. When you demonstrate that you have a life of your own, it subtly communicates that you value yourself. And that's incredibly attractive. This isn't about manipulation. It's about reclaiming your self-worth. The more you focus on becoming a man who's confident, independent, and purpose-driven, the less likely she'll be able to overlook you. In fact, she'll start noticing the shift without you even saying a word. Now that you're focusing on yourself and building your confidence, let's talk about how you interact with her moving forward. Here's the thing. When you do communicate with her, it's crucial to approach it differently than you have in the past. If you come across as overly eager or emotionally dependent, it's going to push her further away. Instead, you want to embody calmness and certainty in every interaction. Think of this as reestablishing the dynamic between you. When you're overly available, you unconsciously send the message that she's the center of your world. But when you become more selective with your energy, responding to her only when it feels natural and on your terms, it flips the script. You're no longer chasing her. You're allowing her to step toward you. This subtle shift can completely change the way she sees you. When you do talk to her, focus on being present and in control of the conversation. For example, instead of rehashing past conflicts or asking her why she's been distant, keep the tone light and confident. Share something exciting you've been up to or a new goal you're working toward. This isn't about bragging. It's about showing her that you're growing and thriving. Remember, actions speak louder than words. When she sees you becoming a better version of yourself, it sparks curiosity. She'll start wondering what's behind this newfound energy. It's also important to balance your responses. Don't let her feel like you're waiting around for her next move. If she messages you, take your time to reply. Let her feel what it's like to not have your constant attention. And when you do respond, keep it brief and meaningful. By not over-explaining or oversharing, you maintain a sense of mystery, and mystery is powerful. Here's an analogy to keep in mind. Think of yourself as a flame. If you burn too brightly and too close, it can feel overwhelming. But if you're steady, warm, and just out of reach, it draws people in. That's the kind of energy you want to embody. Calm, confident, and undeniably captivating. Let's take it a step further by understanding the psychology behind attraction. People are naturally drawn to what feels rare and valuable. If you've been overly available or prioritizing her over everything else, you've unintentionally diminished that sense of value. The good news? You can rebuild it, and it starts by becoming a man who isn't afraid to let go of what doesn't serve him. Here's the paradox. When you're okay with the idea of losing her, that's when she's most likely to want to stay. Why? Because confidence and self-assuredness are irresistible. When you stop trying to prove your worth to someone else, you communicate that your value doesn't depend on their approval. This mindset shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Instead of being someone who seeks validation, you become someone who offers it sparingly, and only to those who truly earn it. This also means taking a hard look at the dynamic you've had with her. Has it been one-sided? Have you been the one constantly reaching out, planning, or making compromises? If so, it's time to reset those patterns. Stop putting in 100% effort for someone who's only meeting you halfway. Instead, match her energy. If she's distant, you become distant. If she reaches out, respond in kind, but don't overdo it. This creates balance and reestablishes your boundaries. Now, this doesn't mean you should play games or manipulate her emotions. That's not the goal. What you're doing is reclaiming your emotional independence. You're showing her and yourself that you're perfectly capable of being happy and fulfilled, with or without her. This shift in mindset will not only make her notice you, but it will also help you feel more in control of your life. Think of it like this. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you create a gravitational pull. It's like you're planting seeds that will grow into something irresistible. She won't be able to ignore the fact that you're no longer chasing her, that you're thriving in your own lane, and that you've become someone who's confident and self-assured. And when she starts to sense this, that's when the dynamic begins to shift in your favor. Now, let's talk about the final and most important step, maintaining your new energy and mindset, regardless of the outcome. Whether she comes back or not, your priority should always be you. Here's why. The changes you're making aren't just for her, they're for your long-term happiness and growth. This is about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to chase anyone because he knows his worth. When you fully embrace this mindset, something incredible happens. You stop putting her on a pedestal and start viewing her as an equal, not as someone you need, but as someone who has to earn a place in your life. This shift makes you more selective about who you allow into your space, and it creates an aura of confidence that's impossible to ignore. Here's a powerful exercise to help you stay grounded. Visualize the kind of life you want to create for yourself in the next 6 months or a year. What do you see? Is it a version of you? Who's thriving in your career, pursuing your passions, surrounded by meaningful relationships, and feeling emotionally balanced? Hold on to that vision and use it as your anchor. Every decision you make should align with that version of you. When she reaches out, and she likely will, don't let the old patterns creep back in. Stay centered, stay focused on your goals, and don't rush to give her all your attention. Instead, let her re-earn your trust and time. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about knowing your value and expecting the same level of effort and respect in return. And here's the thing, even if she doesn't come back, you're not losing. Why? Because you've gained something far more important, self-respect, confidence, and the ability to create a life that fulfills you with or without her. You'll attract new opportunities, new people, and new experiences that align with the person you're becoming. So remember this: the power isn't in trying to make her notice you, the power is in becoming someone she can't help but notice. When you focus on yourself, set boundaries, and show up as your best self, you naturally command respect and attention. And whether it's her or someone else, the right person will recognize your value without you having to prove it. Now go out there and make this shift. You've got this. Subscribe for more insights that will change the way you see relationships and yourself.